Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing well. I'm in
Oh,
Los Angeles, as you can see from
nice.
the natural light.
Awesome. Oh man, I'm jealous. I know last time I was talking to you, you were in New York, you know, in the trenches with us in the cold. But
So
that's
sorry,
nice. You got to escape.
but I'm hoping we're going to get some of this vicariously right now.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Well, how's it going?
It's really good. Now, I have a really hard time with the winter, as many of us do. It's
Yes.
it's my 16th winter living in New York City. And every winter I am like, this is the last time that I'm going to do this. Um, and, each winter I sort of like just root in and reassess my self-care plan and see like what I can do um, to get through it. Cause it's really hard, for me to deal with the cold and,
Yeah.
I get seasonal depression and, in my work, it's obviously very physical. So
Hmm.
to like feel warm and open and loose to do the job and teach and share. So there's just a lot more effort that goes into it in the winter. But I'm here now, and this is one of the things I'm doing to take care of myself right now, which is to get myself into the sun and to and in the video that we made, which I loved making so much, one of the things that you can hear me say in the background is like, I want to spend more time in the sun. So that's
Yep.
manifesting. How are you?
Awesome. Good. I mean, I'm pregnant. I'm very pregnant. I'm due in about 6 weeks or less. So I'm good, but I'm a little tired from making a human, but
Just
all
a little,
things
just like
considered.
a small little job you're doing on the side.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, but yeah, so today's sidebar, everyone, is about practicing wellness. So I think even just like our introductory conversation is a really good segue into that topic in general. Everyone meet Jules. She's the founder of Good Move and Why, even though she's escaped NY to be in LA right now. But it makes sense with how she's practicing wellness. So, Jules, tell us all about yourself. Tell us all the things like how did you end up, with Good Move and just even, in the wellness space in general.
Um, so I have been a dancer mover since I can remember. I grew up dancing and I was a competitive gymnast. And then I moved to New York, went to school in New York and became a professional dancer and choreographer. And it was in my professional dance career that I became interested in a serious way in wellness and self care. And primarily, I got interested in the wellness space and the self care space because I was in a company with it's called Douglas Dunn and Dancers. That's where I sort of cut my teeth as a modern dancer in New York. And the company was really cool because it was a very diverse mix of dancers from all different backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ways that that diversity showed up was also in our ages. So I was the youngest, and the dancers ranged. I think at the time I was 23 or 24, and the the dancers ranged all the way to 70 years old. So I was watching these really amazing, incredible older dancers, um, who had these prolific careers and who were really tending to their bodies and tending to themselves in a very beautiful and dedicated way. And at the time, I didn't have health insurance, and
Mm-hmm.
neither did most of the dancers, in the company. And so I was like, I need to learn from these folks how to take care of myself, like really how
Mm-hmm.
to take care of myself. Um, and I need to do this because I want to dance until the day I die. And so how do I prepare my body and tend to my body and my soul and my heart to be able to dance as long as I possibly can. So that's sort of like where the seed came in. I think I was always, interested in feeling good. Like I definitely remember as a little girl, you know, my mom and I would like do like, we would put cucumbers over our eyes, and like there were all these little I guess that was self-care. Or like as a competitive gymnast, I would come home and be like, my bones are aching because I like huge growth spurt when I was little, and I was like so like a little string bean, like I shot up. And so my mom would be like, you're going to take an Epsom salts bath, which anyone who's ever worked with me as a health coaching client or as a student, like I preach the Epsom salts bath to this very day. And so they weren't like fancy things or like inaccessible things. But I remember sort of my mother teaching me, you know, you care for yourself. If your body hurts, then you listen to it. And we do, you know, we take the Epsom salts bath. If you're feeling tired and you need like to feel a little refreshed, let's put the cucumbers on the eyes, or have tea together and talk. And, you know, so I think it was always kind of there inside me, this like desire to feel good and to like tend, as I like to call it, like tending to myself. And then in the dance community, like I said, when I was dancing with Douglas Dunn and dancers, it became more of like a practical thing. Like, how am I going to have a long career and have a long life as a dancer? And that's when I became certified as a Pilates instructor and an integrative nutrition health coach. Really, honestly, with the primary goal of like keeping myself healthy without healthcare, without access to healthcare. So I was like, how do I do this for myself? And as I was studying and as I was learning, people were asking me questions about, you know, what they could do and what they should be doing. And it felt really good to share what I had learned, and also as a health coach to help people discover what would uniquely work for them. You know, use my experience and use my knowledge to say, like, these are some suggestions. Now let's like talk about what feels good for you. And what I tapped into around that time, also there was kind of a lot happening for me during this like 4-year period. I also started teaching a class called Adult Beginner Dance Like the Hot Bitch You Always Knew You Were, which is one of our most popular classes at Good Move today. And that class came about because a friend of mine had approached me and said, I really want to dance and I really want to get in shape, but I am not going to a dance institution in New York. I'm not going to go to like some scary dance studio and you know, and make a fool out of myself. So like, if I got some adults together, would you teach a beginner's class? And I said, yes, I'll teach you how to dance like the hot bitch you always knew you were. And the name stuck, and it just grew by word of mouth. And so these 3 things, the Pilates, the health coaching, and the hot bitch class, as it's fondly called now, we're developing simultaneously. And it just got me thinking, you know, all of these are essentially tools that I'm using to develop a deeper and more compassionate relationship with myself, and to learn how to tend to myself and my body and my heart and soul more like acutely and more awarely and more gently. And they're also tools that I really love sharing with other people, and each of them in their own balance is really impactful for people at different points in their journey, in their wellness journey. And so, you know, out of all of that, Good Move was born. The idea for Good Move was born, which was like, I want to create a space for sharing dance, for sharing mindful fitness, for offering health coaching, for being a home where people can come to essentially, come into deeper and more compassionate relationships with themselves. And for me, that means honestly just developing a conversation with yourself where you can start to tune into and listen to the infinite wisdom of the body, which I talk about a lot. And I think within that listening space, there's incredible room for improving our lives, you know, and for tending to ourselves really, really well. And therefore, you know, ripple effect, tending to our communities really well, tending to our families really well. It's all connected to me. So anyway,
Cool.
that's sort of the long story.
Got it. I love, you know, how you were mentioning just the company that you were in, and, you know, with the goal of, I want to be able to have a long lasting career. I think, you know, for me, when I was a dancer, that was like a huge conundrum, because I also was a dancer that didn't have health insurance for most of my career either. But it's like, you're trying to get the job, you're trying to balance auditioning and taking class, but you don't necessarily have the resources to take care of your body in the ideal ways as an athlete. Like, dancers are athletes, you know what I mean? And I don't know, that was just like a constant struggle of like, what does taking care of my body look like for my life? And actually, you know, in my discovery as a dancer was getting acupuncture. Like, acupuncture was really healing for me, really was great for my muscles and my spirit, all of the things. So for you, like, what's like your go-to? What does wellness mean to you? And like, what's your go-to resource or tool for your body?
Yeah. I also love acupuncture. I love all the things. Like, I would do all of the things if I could afford to like get massages and do acupuncture and like, you know, on a regular basis, I would. And I do try to get physical treatments as often as I can. But I would say that wellness to me is really about being able to check in on like a daily or a weekly or a monthly basis and say, what do I need now? Because like, as you know, and you're like really in the thick of this right now, our bodies are always evolving and changing, and we need different things at different times.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, especially again, it's different. Like, my life right now is so different as a founder and entrepreneur, as I'm sure yours is too. It's a completely different lifestyle than it was when I was just dancing like all day long. And so I think for me, wellness is really about being able to choose a few things that are sustainable for me, that I can like return to as a grounding home base. And then if I have time and money and like, you know, whatever, curiosity to add things on top of that, I totally will. You know, I like all the fancy things just as much as the next woman in wellness. But I also I don't think that any of us need to have like 10 different elixirs and, you know, like to have our chakras read every, you know, 2 weeks or whatever. I'm like super, super down for that stuff. But I think that for me, having like a couple super sustainable, simple practices that I can do like pretty regularly, like every day, is the goal. Those are the things that kind of like are my life-saving practices and my soul care practices. And for me, those are journaling. Like I do the morning pages, which is this practice created by a woman called Julia Cameron. It's waking up first thing and just free writing. And I think of it like skimming off the top, like just like a scrape off the cream or like the pond scum or whatever it is. And it's like, just allows the fuzz from my brain to be released. And so I feel like I can start with a clear head in my day. I'm very sensitive and very sort of like, it can be in my head a lot, overthinking things. So it's nice for me to start like getting out of the head. And then I like to move. And again, for me, I'm like, what's sustainable for me? I might not be able to fit in a whole class every day on top of the classes that I'm already teaching or filming or whatever. So this is what I call my improvisational movement practice. And it's really nice for me to do it after I journal because, you know, sometimes when I'm writing, things can come up for me that like make me feel a little like stuck or emotional or whatever, or like, you know, when you like something could have happened like yesterday or a month ago or a year ago, but you like start remembering it and all of a sudden like you're feeling all that stuff.
Yeah.
So for me, then I need to move to like shake it out and let it clear or like make space for it. And so the movement practice, like it could be anywhere from like 2 minutes to like an hour, depending on what I have available in that day. And it can be anything from me, like what I call noodling around on the ground, which is like I just lay there in an X, like the modern dance warm up where you just lay in an X, like fold and unfold and fold and unfold. Like sometimes it's just that. And sometimes it's like me like getting crazy with the moves and like experimenting with different constraints, meaning like I'll decide for myself, I'm, you know, I'm only going to move in like this 4x4 space, or I'm only going to dance on my couch, or I'm only going to move like seaweed underwater, which is one of my favorite imagery pieces of imagery to use. So those two things, the journaling and then the movement improvisation, are probably like the and then everything else is like a bonus. You know, I try to get a massage every, you know, once a month, if I can. Most of the time it's like more like 2 or 3 months by the time I get myself there. I try to cook myself food instead of ordering out, which again, as an entrepreneur, like you're working all the time and it is hard to carve out the time, but it makes such a huge difference for me when I am even making really, really simple meals. It's like I just feel so much more nourished and so much more grounded. And yeah, on top of that, it's like, it's all bonus stuff, but those are my grounding things.
Awesome. Yeah, I love the journaling. I do a gratitude journal like morning and night. So that's a part of my routine. I haven't yet advanced or graduated to the free writing style of journaling. I mean, every once in a while, if I have something like on my heart or something that's kind of bugging me, then I'll do that, just like jot it down and kind of get my feelings out. I miss moving. I miss moving like in a dance way, not just like I exercise, but I miss like that type of movement, just as a different way of expressing myself. Where are you, like when you're doing your movement, are you doing it just like in your apartment? Or are you going into the studio? Like we have a team member on the Nude Barre team, and she'll in the summertime go to like Central Park like really early in the morning with a friend, and they'll dance in the park. Like, are you doing that, or are you at home, or is it kind of a mixture based on your schedule?
It's really a mixture. It's like today, so I'm staying right now at one of my best friend's places in LA, and this morning I went out. She's got like a little roof terrace, and I went out there and did my noodling around on her, my journaling and my noodling around on her roof terrace. At home in the winter, honestly, I'll probably just stay in my apartment because I'm avoiding that. But I mean, oh my goodness, it's so delicious when I go to the studio when no one else is there, and I just allow myself to take up space, because that is like a next level luxury, especially living in New York City, to be able to be big. And like in my classes, my students will tell you, like, I'm constantly saying, take up space, like be as big as you want to be, you know, be as expansive as you can. Because and this is something that I think, you know, living in New York City, like stacked on top of each other, but also as a woman, as women, we are not really raised to take up a lot of space. We're, in fact, a lot of times raised to make ourselves smaller, both like, you know, in the idealization of small bodies, but also like in terms of like energetically taking up space. We're not really encouraged to be expansive. And so it feels like a small act of resistance and like a fortifying act to go and like take up space and move as big as I want and encourage others to do the same.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways that I have as an entrepreneur is that my dance life and my dance world gave me the ability to take up space, right? I was able to do that on stage, in studio, and I feel comfortable enough to do that in this other life that I'm living as an entrepreneur, to where I feel like it's a benefit and a bit of an advantage to an extent. So I feel really blessed that I had the opportunity to live that life as a performer and use my body and use my voice if I want to, whatever version of voice is for who you are. What are some of your first memories of movement?
So I was, when I was a baby, I lived in Bombay, India. My dad's Indian, and so my first 5 years on this earth were in Bombay, India. And I remember, climbing on this couch that we had. It was like a white, it's so funny because I actually think now this is like the style has come back in, but I remember in my memory the white like nubby bukla or boucle, like that like wool nubby material, which like now is all over the place. But I remember that from my childhood. And there was like this couch in the house, in our apartment. And I remember like climbing over it and I wanted to go upside down. Like I really wanted to go upside down. And I don't know if I told my mom I wanted to go upside down or if she just saw me. Like I kept like climbing up and then like going head first, like intentionally, like trying to like flip. I don't know what I was doing, but, my mom picked up on the cues and I think I was like 2 or 3, like really, really young. She bought like a little tiny rope ladder and like hung it up in our apartment and taught me how to climb the rope ladder and hook my knees behind a bar and hang myself down.
Yeah.
And I remember like, that's one of my earliest memories, which is so weird. And she was like, some of the moms thought I was absolutely insane, but like, you were already like doing it, but I just knew that I needed to teach you like something safe and like a goal to do it, that you would be okay. And thankfully I never like fell, or if I did, she had cushions and pillows and stuff underneath the thing. And so that was really early memory. I learned how to swim very young, in Bombay. And I remember dancing with my dad. Like he would come home from work and put on Cat Stevens and we would dance together. And those are like my 3 movement memories that are like really strong.
Oh,
yeah.
Do you think because it sounds like, or my takeaway from the story with your mom, the ladder, is that she, instead of making you fearful of like, oh my gosh, you're going to get hurt, she empowered you to explore what movement was and what would make you happy. I feel like I personally struggle with that as a parent. Like, I'm constantly like, don't die, don't kill yourself, but I feel like that's like a really important takeaway, that she empowered you to do that. And then that gave you freedom to do that in other aspects of your life, like in your adult life. Do you feel like that manifested in that way for you, in terms of like, you had this freedom and this fearless energy about you because of those early moments?
I'm really glad that you said that, because I don't have kids. But I absolutely think that their trust in me and like they fully empowered me to like, go towards, lean into what like felt good for me. and those are definitely things that I teach, my students and the people that I work with. But it is funny because I don't think of myself like you just said, as a parent, you're not that way. I'm not a parent, but I feel very nervous about the idea, like when I imagine myself with kids, or like even for example with my dog, like I'm so protective, like I'm so like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's funny because my parents were so not like that, and my mom especially was like very relaxed, and she always talked about how she trusted me and she trusted her ability to like, show me and guide me, and then she had to like let go. And I'm like, I think that I would have a very hard time with that,
Yeah.
I'm working with adults, only. And so I give them the tools and I'm like, yay, now like go live your life. But like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I don't know what kind of parent I would be, but I imagine that I would have a much harder time. Sometimes I think about the stuff that they encouraged me towards and empowered me, with, and I'm, even as I was just telling you the story about the step ladder, the rope ladder, I was like, I was thinking to myself, I was like, I don't ever like to do that. It was the 80s,
Yeah. Mm. You know, how do you think your attitude towards wellness has shifted over the years? Like, as you've gone through all these stages in your life, from like that moment of the rope ladder to, the earlier years of your dance career to where you're at now.
I think I just have a little bit more space for
Mm.
what it might look like for me to be well. And like, I think of course the wellness industry has, like everything else, been sort of co-opted by capitalism. And so there's like this overarching like marketing and advertising that in order to be well, we need to like buy the, fancy matcha and the like all the supplements and, do all of the things and have the infrared sauna blanket, which I know has been marketed to you too. and like I'm only human after a certain amount of time. So I'm like, I might need an infrared sauna blanket, like I'm like, to be well. But so I think for me, really trusting myself to know like, okay, yes, it's awesome to try things. And I really am open to trying anything, because I think if it makes you feel good, like, why not? Lean
Yeah.
into your pleasure, lean into your joy. These are things that all of us need more of. If it helps me, in terms of physical fitness, like for me, physical fitness is about being healthy and fit enough to do the things that I love for as long as I want. And so, with fitness, with wellness, yes, I'm super down to try all the things. But at the end of the day, I think that learning and listening to myself and trusting myself and, trusting that my body's wisdom is going to lead me in the right direction. That has been sort of, I think, the way that I've grown the most in terms of my relationship with wellness and fitness. It's work to and I just lost you for a sec.
Okay, there you are. Yeah, you froze for a
Oh,
minute.
okay. I'm like, do I need to plug in? I'm plugging in.
Same. My phone is dying too.
I'm like, I promise I did charge before this. But yeah, I think, it does take a certain amount of effort to filter what is being projected at us from, industries and advertising and capitalism. And look, like, I run a small business and so do you. We have things that we need to sell that we believe in. But I think what I love about both of our brands is that you know, we're encouraging people to trust themselves, you know, and trust and lean into what is best for them, and not selling an idea of what that should look like.
Yeah.
You know, and like what wellness is for me is that's very personal to me.
Mm-hmm.
And like my greatest gift as a teacher, I think, is to help people understand that their bodies really do have the wisdom that they need, and that, you know, I can give tools for strengthening that relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can give rituals and practices that strengthen that relationship. But at the end of the day, you know, the best tool that we have is our relationship with ourselves, and our ability to listen to, like, you know, the body's infinite wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. We're 1 minute over time. If you have any questions, you can drop your questions into the chat box for those of you that are here. Thank you, House of Eternal Souls, for that comment. They said, Erin, I just love how your brand gives the wearer such confidence. I really appreciate that. That means a lot, because that's my goal. That's why I'm doing this. That's all what Nude Barre is about, is really giving you the confidence through our nudes. Hi, Rosie. But yeah, if you guys have a question, drop it in. I'm going to ask one more question. And that is, and maybe there isn't an like fresh answer for this. If not, I'll ask you a different question. But what are some wellness practices that you would like to incorporate in 2022? Because we are in the early days of 2022. We have a long way to go.
Well, believe it or not, I made a long list of all the things that I wanted, you know, incorporate this year. And the first one is, maybe not the first one, but a really important one. And this one came up in the video too, when I was speaking with the other instructors who danced in the video that we made, wearing your beautiful clothes, was boundaries. This is something that I think as an entrepreneur has been really hard for me, because I really am so passionate and interested in what I'm doing that I want to make space and time for, like, everyone who touches the thing, you know, like, who touches Good Move. But it's, and I'm sure you feel the same way. Like, when people are enthusiastic about what you're making, what you're doing, like, you want to create a whole other universe of time just to, like, spend on that. But it's like, Good Move is just one of the things that I am doing and that I care about. And I have neglected for a while, for the last 2 years, the part of myself that is also a creator and a choreographer and, you know, an adventurer, really. And so, but I can't make space for those things, creating and collaborating and adventuring, unless I have boundaries around, you know, like, my time, and, you know, who has access to my time and when, and not feeling bad about not having unlimited time. None of us have unlimited time, you know? And so just kind of like being at peace with that, which, again, I think as women, we are not, like, we're not taught to, like, say no and have boundaries. We're taught, I mean, at least I should speak for myself here, but I was, like, very much valued and applauded for being a yes person and being good, and, you know, and all of the things, you know, and being nice and all of this stuff. And it's like, I value kindness so much, but I think that, like, you know, it is actually the kind thing to do, to have boundaries and to say no when you don't want to do something. I actually don't think it's kind to say yes when you actually don't want to do something, or, you know, or to give your time to someone when you really don't have the bandwidth for it, you know? So I think I'm learning that having boundaries can be really kind, and that, you know, I really appreciate when there's like very clear and straightforward communication around boundaries too.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you know, that frees up the time for me that I can reclaim to be making things, be, you know, choreographing, be traveling, be spending time in the sun, and then my cup is so much more full and I have, you know, more to give back.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I also wanted to say, Erin, I agree with the person who said your clothes give so much confidence, because, you know, we had never worn them before, and we got into the studio and like the three of us literally just stripped down and like put on the tights and the bras and stuff. And I was like, I'll be fine. But like, the three of us had never been alone in the studio making something together before. We've like spent a lot of time together, but we'd never been in that context. Mm-hmm. And I was sort of planning on, doing a little bit of like more warm up and more like, you know, like getting us comfy cozy. It was like everyone just dropped trow and was just like, you know, giving it 150%. And I was like, this is great. I mean, the three of us just like felt very comfy. And I think we felt like we were in our own skin, which is, you know, so beautiful.
Awesome. All right, so we will end there. I did want to say that there is a difference between being kind and nice. And I think that's like an important distinction to make, especially when you're creating boundaries in general, which I agree with you that tends to be harder for women than other genders. So definitely feel you on that. But yeah, so great to chat with you and to learn about your journey as a mover, as, you know, a wellness advocate, if you will. And maybe when I get my life together and the pandemic calms down a bit, I'll get out to Brooklyn to the studio and be moving with you soon. Maybe I'll bring a little person with me.
I would love that. And, you know, if you don't want to venture out yet, you can join us on Good Move TV, and I'm going to make sure that you get access to that too, so you can take classes there.
That's doable. Virtual is doable.
We just did a 22 in 2022 challenge where we like, you know, asked people either in the studio or on Good Move TV to take 22 classes in the month of January. Mm-hmm. And I was blown away. There is one of our clients is a brand new mother of twins. She already has a 2-year-old. And she filmed herself every day doing classes with the 2 babies like in their little bouncing bassinets, the other one running around, the dogs running around. And she was like, I am taking this time for me. And so, I mean, I'm completely in awe, and I want to talk to you more about, you know, how you're doing. I can barely feel like I'm barely getting by with just my dog. So, you know, I'm going to have to take some tips from you if I decide to like expand my life into motherhood at any point.
Awesome. Happy to chat anytime about anything, honestly. Well, thank you so much for being here and for joining our Sidebar Convos. It's really been a pleasure, and hopefully I'll see you soon, at least in the virtual world for now.
The pleasure is all mine. I'm so delighted to be here, and I honestly love your brand so much. So this was really a delight.
You. Awesome. All right. Have a good one.
Thanks, Erin. Take care.